tweets and blogs about minimalism as Jack the Dreamer, and he's had rid of more than 1,500 books.
Testing. I'm going on a radio interview with BBC Live soon. Testing. I'm gonna sit right here. Okay. Thank you for calling.
Great. No, thank you for agreeing to speak to us. Is now a good time to put you through?
Yes.
Brilliant. That's great. Can you hear the programme there on your FaceTime line? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear it in the background.
No, that's great. Good news. So Geoff is our presenter this evening, and he will speak to you after the news and sport that you're hearing now. So in about 2 or 3 minutes from now, if that's all right.
Okay. Can you hear me perfect? How's the quality?
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. As long as you can hear us, we've got you loud and clear there, so that's great.
Okay.
Brilliant. Stay on the line for me then. With you in just a couple of minutes.
Sorry. Who's the guy that I'm speaking to?
Geoff.
Jeff. Okay.
Yes, Geoff Lloyd. His name is Geoff. Yeah.
Okay.
From Iran and Iraq. Around 1,000 people, of course, victims whose remains have been stored in Imperial. So hoping for clear skies as they prepare for a total loss. Is talking about this Japanese tidying guru, Marie Kondo. She has a Netflix show. It seems to be as popular this year as Queer Eye for the Straight Guy was last year. And you may already know someone who is using her KonMari method of decluttering, which promises not only a clear house, but also a clear mind. And one of her more controversial suggestions was that she doesn't feel she needs more than 30 books. So let me know what you think about that. Would you find books hard to part with like that? What do you find hard to part with? CDs, books, magazines, old copies of the Yellow Pages? I'm going to speak now to Andy Miller, who is author of The Year of Reading Dangerously, and he's co-host of a great podcast called Backlisted, which is about giving new life to old books, and Jack City, who is a fan of the KonMari method. He tweets and blogs about minimalism as Jack the Dreamer, and he's had rid of more than 1,500 books. Andy, first of all, could you imagine living with only 30 books?
No. It'd be like some terrible torture for me.
So how many books do you have in your home?
Well, a few hundreds to thousands, a respectable number. We ought to say that the 30 book thing. I mentioned on Twitter that I was going to talk to you tonight, and somebody said make sure you point out, and they're quite right to point out, that 30 books is the number that Marie Kondo thinks works for her. That is her personal choice.
Right.
She doesn't think that everybody ought to own only 30 books. Her idea is that you should own the quantity that is meaningful to you, that sparks a strong emotion. The thing for me is, though, I really like books. I like reading them, and I like the actual objects themselves. And I was thinking, well, actually, most of the books that I own do kind of spark some kind of strong emotion, because that's the sort of person I am.
Are you the sort of person who goes into a bookshop and might, if you're feeling a bit flush, come away with 4 or 5 books, put them on a shelf and think, I'll get round to them? I mean, how big is your to-read pile?
Oh, my to-read pile is ever, for everyone I read, I have 2.
Right.
But that's out of enthusiasm. That's out of love for the reading experience. And what I found with acquiring books is, in a way, it doesn't really matter how long you wait to read them, because the nice thing is the book will be there waiting for you at the right moment to read it. Obviously, space is always going to be an issue about how much storage you've got and how much clutter you want to create. But where I struggle with this is I can't think of books as clutter.
But don't you like that idea of? Firstly, charity shops is a way of keeping books in circulation. But there was this thing, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago on the internet where people would leave books in places on public transport with little notes inside of them. It's quite nice passing on a book, isn't it?
Of course it is, absolutely. Who wouldn't want to do that? But it's also quite nice to hang on to them as well. It's possible to do both. I'm saying live and let live. I'm being very liberal here.
Yes.
I'm saying that's fine. If people don't want to hang on to their books, that is okay. They can recycle them or give them to me. That's fine. but it seems totally legitimate to want to hang on to these things that are full of wonder and drama and information.
Well, let's speak to Jack. Now, Jack, you got rid of 1,500 1,500 books. How before you got into Marie Kondo, what was your attitude towards the books?
Kind of like what kind of like what Andy's going through, where I got joy every time I bought books. Like, at Costco, they would always be like half off or 30% off, and I would always buy a lot of them. Barnes & Noble's, Amazon, because they're so easy to get. They're always like 35-40% off. And I love that each book held unlimited potential as to what it could give me and enrich and value my life. And I collected, hundreds to thousands of them over high school and college until I discovered KonMari's book.
And then what changed for you? What does she say?
Well, she was saying about how, put them all on, take them all off the shelves, put them on the floor, and touch them and really assess if they bring joy to your life. And until that point, I thought I enjoyed having a lot of books because it represented knowledge and power and just a grasp of everything. Until I came across that, I didn't realize that actually a lot of books didn't bring me joy. So when I went through the process, I donated over 1,500 books. So now I'm actually down to 10 books. And I'm currently looking at my bookshelf right now, and I'm like, I probably stand to donate about 2 to 3 more of them, so I'll be down to about 7 books by the end of the year.
Andy is hyperventilating at this point at the thought of
I want to know what the 2 or 3 are that Jack might be willing to pass over.
Yeah. What are the ones that survived the colour 1,500, but now you're looking at 10? You think?
The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. I'm probably going to donate that by the end of the year, just because while I love the notion of spending more time with your family and friends with the life that you have, it probably doesn't bring me joy. It actually makes me cry. It makes me feel sad.
Am I right in guessing that you've historically read a lot of books about sort of self-improvement?
Yes.
And are a lot of the 1,500 ones you've improved yourself, you're done with that, and now you're moving on?
Yes, but also, to be completely honest, about 1,450 of them I never read. Let's be completely honest. I collected them over 10 years, never read them.
And what did the people at the charity shop say when you turned up with 1,500 books?
I actually donated them to the local libraries when they were closed, so no one had to judge.
Yeah. And what's your state of mind then for being free of the clutter of all these books?
So I actually wanted to make this point, and at Andy as well. Imagine 1,500 books, right? They have 1,500 spines with words. And usually the marketing branch of the publishing company had to attract your attention to that book at some point. So you have about 1,500 screaming people at you every time you enter the room. But when you get rid of 1,490 of them, now you only have 10 close friends that say hi to you when you enter the room. That bring you joy.
Sounds like something out of Harry Potter, doesn't it? Books screaming at you when you enter a room.
Yeah.
Hey, that happens to me a lot, Geoff, anyway, so in real life as well as... I mean, that's a fair point. I think, let me give you the counter point to that, though. They've done quite a lot of research. There's been quite a lot of research done on what encourages children to be readers, young people to be readers, and even adults to be readers, and to discover books themselves and to have confidence with books. And the 2 things when you're a child that you need are someone who will read to you, but also children who grow up around books or with books around them tend to be the children who pick up a love of reading. And I think we're in a really interesting historical moment where the physical presence of books is in retreat. Now that's partly because we can read electronically in a way that perhaps we couldn't a few years ago. But also, certainly in the UK, libraries are closing down. Bookshops the number of bookshops has sunk dramatically. And you feel comfortable around books. You need books around you in the shops, in our towns, and in your home.
It's kind of something I've said about streaming music before now, is it's like going to a restaurant and not having a menu. And someone saying, so what do you fancy to eat then? And it's just too overwhelming. Whereas if you've got books there to look at and choose from, that's a pleasure in itself, but also can sort of focus the mind a little.
I do have one thing to say to Andy, though. Andy, I have a question. Do you have kids?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this is what I've noticed, and I understand that point. I've also seen those studies where it's like kids surrounded by books tend to be smarter. But now, I've noticed this in real life observation, is that in my local town, there was this local successful businessman, made business over decades, very rich, very smart, very local community guy. When he died, he left behind thousands of books. He had his own personal library, maybe 10,000 books. And when he died, his children and his grandchildren did not stop by the library and take a single book. What ended up happening was they hired local people to pack up his books and donate them all to the local library. So it's kind of like, I understand, it's like when your kids are grown up, you can donate those books or get rid of the ones that no longer bring you nor them joy. Because if you don't Marie Kondo and discard your books now while you're alive, it's going to be a financial burden and physical burden on your children after you die, because they're either going to be the ones to pack up and donate them, or they're going to have to spend money on people to pack up and donate them.
Well, what about this, Andy? What about the burden you're putting on those kids of yours?
I've already given my son enough difficulties to deal with. I think he'll just see this as
genetically.
I think he'll just see this as a cherry on an unpleasant cake.
Jack, can I ask you what else what else have you done apart from get rid of books? What else have you done?
So I've donated
KonMari method?
I've donated over 80% of my clothes. I now have just enough socks for the week. I wash them at the end of the week, and then about 7 t-shirts, couple pairs of pants, and that's pretty much it. So it's just jeans, shirts, like 2 to 3 blazers, socks, underwear, and that's pretty much it for clothing. 1 rain jacket. So it's pretty minimal. My whole life fits into 2 suitcases, and I can pretty much travel the world on a moment's notice, leave an apartment whenever I want, go see anyone in the world. Anywhere.
Have you been doing that, like leaving home on a moment's notice and traveling the world? Has it freed you up for those things, or is it just theoretical at this point?
Oh, it's freed me up completely. After my girlfriend and I went through the KonMari Marie Kondo process, we have traveled to half of Asia, Europe, and Canada, if you will. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So it's working for you?
Yes, and also it reduces the financial burden of actually carrying stuff. If your whole life fits into 2, suitcases, that's pretty much what most airlines will give you for free anyways when you travel internationally. So you just carry your life with you.
So not only will it clear your mind, but it will make travel slightly cheaper.
Cheaper, easier, peace of mind. You just carry everything with you.
And Andy,
I've got to give you the flip side of that. What if there's a British artist, Michael, his surname escapes me, I'm sure listeners will know this, who about 15, 20 years ago destroyed all his possessions and put them through a grinder in a department store in Oxford Street in London. And there's an amazing documentary where he goes through it and he attempts to not just declutter but destroy everything his parents ever gave him, all his photographs. So forget the books. The books are first out the door.
right.
And the effect on him was a fascinating initial euphoria at lightness and freedom, and then terrible trauma.
A cautionary tale for Jack, then.
But that guy got rid of everything his parents gave him. I'm choosing with my own actions what brings me joy.
Jack City, who is a devout follower of the KonMari method, and Andy Miller, author of Year of Reading Dangerously and co-host of Blacklisted Podcast. Thank you so much. It's 19 minutes past 11. It's BBC Radio 5 Live.
Jack, thanks very much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Take care now.
Alright, bye.
Bye.
Jewish cemetery in Hertfordshire. The remains of 5 adults and 1 child were anonymously donated to the Imperial War Museum in 1997.
That was it?
Soil from Israel was placed on top of the coffins today. More than
Whoa! Oh man, I thought we were gonna get like a deeper convo. Now I'm going to have to tweet at Andy that we can continue this conversation over the podcast. Andy Miller, hey Andy, it was nice talking with you and Geoff over the air. Let me know if you want to talk more over your podcast, because it felt like our convo ended too short. Thanks, BBC. Okay, tweet it at Andy Miller, who is the co-host on Backlisted Podcast and talks about books a lot. Okay. Well, that was very interesting. BBC 5 Live Radio. I think that ended a little bit too quickly. I literally just wanted to talk about how, like, when you have so many books, that's so much dust collecting on the surface of the books that doesn't get dusted. So, but even if you have, like, them from bottom of shelf to top of shelf completely closed with the book, there's still the front or the back behind the book that collects dust. So not only do you get a lot more dust collecting than if you had fewer books, you're being a financial burden and a physical burden on your children, because they're either gonna have to pack up your own books, or your children are not gonna want to pack up your own books, and they're gonna have to spend money to pay someone to pack your books for you. Not only that, if you move, it's a financial burden on you to pack up, what, tens to hundreds of boxes or tubs full of your own books and then pay them to be shipped, or spend the money to rent a van to move your books across country, across town, whatever. Versus if you just had a couple books that you throw in your backpack and then literally go to the other end of town or the other end of the country. See? So you're saving your children money, you're saving yourself money, you're saving yourself respiratory health. That's pretty much it, besides the anti-library from Umberto Eco. But that's literally like, okay, just be humble about it and just realize you're not gonna know everything, and you don't need to have millions of books telling you that you don't know everything. Just realize that you yourself don't know everything and get on with your life. That's pretty much it. Alright, thank you for watching. Bye.